Joining us to reflect on the learners' preparation for tertiary level STEM education is UJ's Research Chair in the Faculty of Education, Professor Elizabeth Henning. Professor Henning, a very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. I mean, 2024, the matric class rate shot up to 87.3% in the country. This is a figure which represents more than any other time in South Africa's history. How should we begin to interpret this outcome?
That's a very difficult question. Good evening to you, ma'am, and to your listeners. Firstly, we have a type of mantra in the research chair where I've been working for the last 10 years, and that is matric begins in grade 1. And that is my interpretation, that the young people, almost, 700,000 of them, who got their results today, and that the country as a whole has performed so much better. But these statistics tell only part of the story. The story goes much further than that. It includes, for instance, those young people who joined school in 2012 and 2013. How many of them are there today and why? That's the one thing that I would like to put into any interpretation.
A lot has also been said.
Along with that,
yeah. No. You carry on.
Okay. And along with that, people talk about the performance of students and the number of young people who select physical sciences and mathematics as subjects. And that as well is based on early learning, the foundation before the bricks are laid in the different grades. So those are two of my interpretations. I would like to know, actually, if one takes all the subjects that were written in matric this year and look at those averages individually per subject, that would be, I think, an interesting avenue, which we'll definitely look at my institution.
Yeah, but because some of the subjects that have been looked at, I mean, you touched on one of the gateway subjects, physical sciences, there's also accounting and mathematics, and we know that there has been a slight increase in the learners who passed mathematics in 2024, that's 63.5% in 2023, but now 69.1% of learners passing in 2024. And of course, a drop in the percentages of learners achieving distinctions in physical sciences. What does this indicate about some of the much needed work in foundational literacy? I mean, you spoke about how matric really starts in grade 1, but to get these numbers up again, what needs to happen in between that space?
I don't want to say too much about what happens in the FET phase in grades 10, 11 and 12, because I'm not a specialist there. But I can say that if the foundation isn't laid early, where young children have a good grasp of how the natural world works. If you talk to young kids, they actually have a good intuition, or let's say they have it in their DNA almost. So if that is nurtured along with mathematics and reasoning and logic, and also if teachers know more about the science of learning and how young children not only remember facts and learn to solve problems, but how they also need reinsurance and repetition and lots of revision to remember. I have a little anecdote which I always tell. There's a little guy or a little girl in the back of the grade 1 or 2 class, and when the teacher asks them, they put up their hand, then the teacher says, yes, and they said, Miss, I forgot. And they have literally forgotten because it hasn't been reinforced by repetition and by approaching it in a different way. So there's my lecture. Thank you.
Thank you. A lot has been said about how this outcome should go beyond just the pass mark, just the celebration of the pass mark, and perhaps some reflection on the indicators of quality. Where would you say are some of the markers of success as we look at the quality? I know you said you and your colleagues are going to scrutinize that even more, but overall, where should we be looking?
I think one should also, without becoming too provincialistic, our country is really, without doing that, but really going to schools that have large numbers, maybe fewer teachers, in distant rural areas or in township areas, or anywhere where there's not sufficient care. You know, when I looked at the results now and the short video clips of the private schools in the northern province in Mpumalanga, I mean, no wonder those kids do well. Their classes are smaller, they have good laboratories, they have teachers and time to invest, and many of these young people are in school residence, they are in hostels, so they are at school a lot. And they can write this paper in English and for a few in Afrikaans. So they have acquired enough of the academic language and the language of learning and reasoning by the time they get to write the matric exam, because they've practiced this type of reasoning and there was time for them to get some individual attention. And my heart then stays with the kids who didn't get it.
What we also did note is that 67% of the bachelor passes achieved in the class of 2024 comes from quintile 1 to 3 schools, mostly found in our poorer communities, and a percentage which represents an increase compared to 2023. We're starting to see some improvement in that space. How would you interpret some of the indicators of improvement there?
I think the main thing for me is when we talk about the quintiles, you know, we so easily, you know, apart from being provincialistic, we are also really keen to talk about quintiles. So these may appear like the less resourced schools and with socioeconomic circumstances that are far more challenging, specifically, and I'm not talking just about economics and money, but the social circumstances, the difficulties, the violence, the hunger, and so on and so on. That if things improve there, it means that at the schools, in the districts, something happened. So something gave some energy to the places where it is much needed. And that I salute. I really do.
Yeah. Very well. Thank you so much, Professor. Thank you for speaking to us this evening.